Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really pulling apart some fascinating source material. It explores how our internal programs, the ones often hidden, aren't just, little nudges.
No, they're powerful forces. They genuinely shape our reality, what we actually seem to attract into our lives. It's quite profound when you dig into it.
Absolutely. And the material we've been looking at, it offers some really compelling research, insights into the mind's power, specifically how we get these deep internal programs.
And maybe more importantly, what we can actually do about them, how to sort of reset the system, if you will.
Right. So our mission here is to get a handle on the mechanics of the subconscious mind, figure out how to spot the programs that might be holding you back, maybe without you even realizing it.
And then uncover practical, actionable ways to shift them. We're basing this all on what these sources are revealing.
Yeah, because the core idea seems to be we have these amazing capabilities like intelligent energy, huge potential.
But it's often that invisible layer, that subconscious programming, that's kind of the gatekeeper, isn't it? It's the key to unlocking our full potential, or sometimes what keeps it locked away.
Okay, so let's unpack that. One of the first really key ideas in the material is looking at the brain as what's called a psycho-cybernetic mechanism.
Yeah, it sounds a bit technical, I know.
A little bit.
But the explanation actually makes it pretty clear. Psycho, referring to the mind, obviously.
Right.
And cybernetics, well, that's the science of self-regulating systems, feedback loops. So essentially, the brain is acting like an automatic guidance system for your life.
And they use that thermostat analogy, which really helps it click, I think.
It really does. Think about your home thermostat. You set it, say, 70 degrees. Okay. That's its program, its set point.
Got it.
Now, if the room temperature changes, gets colder, maybe warmer, the thermostat mechanism senses that deviation. It notices the difference from its program setting.
It registers, yeah.
And automatically, right, without you doing anything, it kicks in, turns on the heat or the AC, whatever's needed.
Forget it back to 70.
Exactly, to bring the temperature back to that original setting. Its job is to maintain the status quo based on the program.
And the fascinating point the sources make is that our brain operates in a really similar automatic way, responding to stimulation, to the world, based on its internal settings, constantly regulating.
Which, immediately leads to the big question.
Where do these settings, these subconscious programs even come from? How do they get installed?
Well, one of the most powerful points in the material is about the first 7 years of life. It's presented as this absolutely critical programming phase.
7 years old. That seems really specific.
It is. And the reason is, during those early years, the brain is primarily operating in a different state, theta brain waves. It's not the analytical beta state we're mostly in as adults.
So it's more receptive, like a download mode.
Precisely. Think of it like hypnosis, almost.
Yeah.
The conscious analytical mind isn't really filtering things yet. So the brain is just absorbing information, beliefs, behaviors.
Soaking it all up.
Yeah, like a sponge.
Yeah.
And this programming, this foundational stuff about who we are, what the world is like, it happens without conscious effort from the child. It comes from parents, family, peers, teachers.
Experiences too, right? And how those experiences felt.
Absolutely. The physical sensations tied to experiences get wired in too, creating these really deep associations.
And okay, once these programs are in there, they don't just sit dormant, do they?
Not at all. They're housed in the subconscious and they run automatically, constantly, through repetition, essentially becoming habits of thought and reaction.
Like the default settings are just always running in the background.
That's a perfect way to put it. And the sources stress, these programs aren't inherently good or bad in a moral sense. They just are.
But some definitely serve us better than others in living the life we want.
Oh, absolutely. Some support our goals, others actively sabotage them. And just like that thermostat, they operate automatically, steering our perception, our behavior, often beneath our conscious awareness.
So the mind, in this view, is kind of the interface between the world and us.
Exactly. It's sitting between the external world you perceive, your biology, your body, and your behaviors. It's the filter, influencing what you notice, what you ignore, and how you automatically react.
And the scale of this is huge. The sources say something like 95% of our life is run from the subconscious program.
A staggering 95%. Yeah, that's the claim. It really highlights how much is happening automatically.
And that explains why making conscious changes can feel so incredibly hard sometimes, so frustrating.
It really does. You decide consciously, okay, I'm going to change this. Maybe save more money or be more outgoing or eat healthier.
You put in the effort, You try really hard.
And maybe it works for a bit. You see some progress, but then somehow you seem to slide back to the old ways.
Yeah, that feeling of hitting an invisible wall.
That's the cybernetic mechanism. Remember the thermostat. Your conscious effort to change is sensed as a deviation from the existing program, the established self-image that's been running maybe for decades.
And its job is to correct the deviation.
Its primary function is to pull you back within those familiar programmed boundaries, to restore the status quo of that old self-image.
They used a financial example, right?
Yeah.
Like you make more money for a while.
Yeah, consciously you achieve some gains. But if your deep subconscious financial identity program is set to, say, scarcity or a lower income level, that mechanism picks up the gain as an error signal. And subtly, unconsciously, it'll start influencing your choices, your spending habits, maybe even making you overlook opportunities until you're back in alignment with that old program.
Wow. And that cycle just leads to feeling stuck, frustrated, maybe even questioning if you actually have the power to create your reality.
But here's the empowering part. The sources are very clear that yes, you absolutely can create your reality, but, and this is the crucial bit, for permanent, lasting change, that internal program, that core self-image has to be changed first.
So it's not just about willpower or trying harder on the outside. It's about going inside.
It's about becoming consciously aware and taking charge of reprogramming those internal settings deliberately.
Okay. And a key piece of this is understanding the difference between the conscious and subconscious minds, right?
Yeah.
How they learn.
Exactly. The conscious mind, that's your creative mind. It's where your wishes, your desires, your goals live. It learns from reading, from listening to things like this, from thinking.
Information,
Misa.
intention.
Right, but the subconscious mind, that's the habit mind. It's often very resistant to just being told something new by the conscious mind.
Yeah.
Its job is simply to run the existing programs, to make them real in your experience. It learns differently.
And this connects to another really interesting idea from the sources, how these programs filter what we even perceive, and how that ties into like attracts like.
Yes, the filtering mechanism. They use a simple, everyday example, opening a newspaper or a magazine.
Okay, what happens?
The moment you glance at the page, even before you consciously decide what to read, certain words or images might just jump out at you.
Yeah, that happens.
The source explains this isn't random. In that split second, your subconscious mind is scanning everything on the page. Every single word, image. It's incredibly fast.
The whole page, instantly. That's hard to grasp.
It is astonishingly fast. And as it scans, it's instantly identifying and flagging anything that's relevant to your current internal programs. Maybe the name of your hometown, or something related to your job, or a word connected to a worry you have.
So it's like a personalized search engine, constantly running, filtering for me based on my stored programming.
That's a perfect analogy. It gives you a subconscious little nudge, directing your conscious focus precisely to what pertains to you and your existing programs, while instantly filtering out almost everything else. The conscious mind, trying to process linearly, just can't do that.
So like attracts like isn't necessarily some mystical force pulling things out of the ether.
According to this perspective, it's largely this perceptual filtering system. Your subconscious recognizes things in your environment, information, opportunities, even people that resonate with your current internal state, your programs, and automatically draws your attention and energy towards them.
You're not pulling things out of thin air. You're being guided to what already matches your settings.
Exactly. And the implication is huge, because if you can successfully, accurately place new conscious programs into your subconscious,
Then that same super fast mechanism will start working for the new program.
precisely, it will instantaneously start seeing, noticing, understanding, and connecting you with things related to those new desired programs just as efficiently as it did with the old ones. It's like your subconscious is playing chess 3 moves ahead, guiding you towards your new destination based on the new program you installed.
Okay, so this is the million-dollar question then, based on all this. How do you actually change the subconscious mind? How does it learn new tricks, essentially?
Right. Well, the first absolutely critical step, according to the sources, is to pinpoint which beliefs and programs are the ones currently holding you back. You have to identify the roadblocks.
Because if 95% is automatic, you need to know what that automatic script is.
Exactly. And the material points to this basic fundamental law of the mind. You consistently act, perform, and get results based not just on reality, but on what you imagine or believe to be true about yourself and the world, your internal map.
So maybe when things aren't working, instead of doubting your ability, you should question the source of that doubt. Where did that belief come from?
That's the shift in focus. Identify the root of the limiting belief to change it. The sources offer two main ways to do this identification. The first is self-observation.
Watching yourself, how does that work?
It's about being really honest. You look at your life. What comes easily to you? Where do things just seem to flow? Maybe certain skills or types of relationships or aspects of your career. Those areas are likely supported by positive subconscious programs.
Okay, that makes sense. And the flip side.
Anything you consistently struggle with, where you feel like you're pushing uphill, applying tons of conscious effort for minimal results. Those areas are strong clues that your subconscious programs are not aligned with your conscious goals there. It's like driving with the emergency brake on.
That's a powerful way to think about it, a diagnostic tool in itself.
Yeah.
Okay, what's method number 2?
The second method is something called muscle testing, specifically a technique they describe as the sway test.
Muscle testing. Sounds intriguing. Tell us about that.
Okay, the principle here, as the sources explain it, is that our thoughts, emotions, beliefs, they have a direct physical impact on our body's electrical system.
Our body's electrical.
Yeah, it's a whole network. Energy flows through nerves, muscles.
Yeah.
And the idea is when you hold a thought or make a statement that clashes with your deep subconscious programming, creates internal disharmony, it causes a tiny temporary weakening in your muscle strength or electrical flow.
So your body physically reacts to the truth or falsehood of a statement relative to your subconscious belief, like a physical lie detector.
In a sense, yeah. The sources even call it a kind of telephone to the subconscious. It lets you bypass the conscious mind's rationalizations or wishful thinking and get a direct physical yes-no answer from your deeper programming.
Okay, how do you actually do the sway test? Walk us through it.
It's pretty simple, actually. Step 1. You stand or sit upright, feet comfortably forward, just relax. Step 2 is crucial. The accuracy check. You need to establish your body's yes and no signal.
Like calibrating it.
Exactly. So make a statement you absolutely know is true for you, like my name is your actual name. Then just relax and notice how your body subtly responds. Often there's a slight pull or sway forward for yes.
Okay.
Then state something you absolutely know is false. My name is Mickey Mouse or something. Again, relax and notice the response. Often it's a subtle sway or feeling of being repelled backward for no. These forward-backward sways become your personal barometer.
And this is important because sometimes we think we believe something consciously.
But the subconscious program is totally different. That's why you test. You might consciously affirm, I deserve abundance. But if a childhood program says money is scarce and hard to get, the muscle test will likely reveal that conflict.
So you apply this to the areas you identified through self-observation.
Exactly. You formulate statements about those areas, like, I am worthy of being in a healthy, loving relationship, or it is safe for me to be successful. Loving someone else and being loved are easy for me. You state it clearly, then pay close attention to that subtle forward, yes, alignment, or backward, no resistance, sway.
And the goal here isn't judgment, it's just information gathering, identifying the specific beliefs that are blocking you.
Precisely. Write down the statements that get a no response. Those are your targets for reprogramming.
Okay, so you've done the self-observation, you've maybe used the sway test, you've zeroed in on some specific limiting beliefs. Now what? How do you actually change that subconscious code?
All right, so the sources lay out two main powerful pathways for this reprogramming work. The first involves deliberately influencing the subconscious when it's naturally most receptive, when it's in that theta brainwave state.
Right, you mentioned that earlier, like the first 7 years being like hypnosis.
Exactly. And while we're not in theta all the time as adults, the sources explain we naturally pass through that state twice a day. It's a window where the hemispheres of the brain are more synchronized and the subconscious is highly open to suggestion, much less resistant to new information.
And those times are.
As you're drifting off to sleep at night, that transition from conscious thought into deeper sleep, and also as you're waking up in the morning, coming out of sleep towards full alertness. In those fuzzy, relaxed states, your mind is in theta, highly suggestible, like a child's.
Okay, so how do you leverage that window?
The technique described involves using earphones during these transition times. As you're dozing off or just waking up, you play recordings. These could be visualizations guiding you to feel the reality of your new belief, or simple, direct affirmations, I am statements reflecting the new program you want to install.
So you could record yourself saying things like, I am confident, I am worthy, I easily attract opportunities.
Absolutely. Or you could find well-made subliminal programs designed for specific changes. But the crucial instruction, the sources emphasize, is to play these recordings at a very low volume, almost subconscious itself.
Oh, blasting it.
Definitely not. The conscious mind shouldn't be actively straining to hear it or analyze it. High volume would likely just create resistance. The subconscious picks up the subtle cues effortlessly in that receptive state.
Low volume, gentle impression.
Got it.
Okay, so that's tapping into the theta state. What's the second method?
The second method is really about how we learn after that initial childhood programming window. It's through repetition and conscious behavior. It's how we form habits as adults.
Like practicing piano scales or learning to drive. Repetition, repetition.
Exactly. Your conscious mind might read a self-help book once and understand a concept intellectually. But the subconscious, the habit mind, only learns through repeated experience and action.
So to install a new program, you need to consciously repeat the new belief or intention.
Yes, repeat the message consistently. But critically, the sources say, you also have to consciously behave as if that new program is already true. You have to embody it.
Act as if.
Yes. Every single time the old pattern, the old behavior, the old reaction comes up, you consciously interrupt it and choose to act, think, feel, and even hold your body in the way someone who already has the new program would.
So if the old program made you slouch and avoid eye contact when feeling insecure,
And you want to install confidence, you consciously choose in that moment to stand tall, make eye contact, change your physiology to match the state of confidence, even if it feels unnatural at first. You act from the new state.
it's not just thinking it, it's doing it, living it.
Precisely. And the sources really highlight the combined power here. Using both methods, the gentle hypnotic impressions during the theta state, plus consistent conscious repetition and behavioral practice during your waking hours, that's presented as the most effective, surest way to truly alter those deep-seated programs and achieve your desired outcomes. It gets both brain hemispheres firing together for the new reality.
And the material suggests that after you've been doing this consistently, maybe for several weeks, you can actually check if it's working.
Yes, you can go back to that muscle testing, the sway test. You use the exact same statements you identified earlier as being out of alignment.
So that statement that gave you a no sway before, like, I am worthy of abundance.
You test it again. If you still get that backward sway, that feeling of resistance, it just means the old program still has some hold. No big deal, just continue the reprogramming, keep impressing the subconscious in that non-resistant theta state. Keep up the conscious repetition and behavior.
But what happens when you persist? What's the outcome?
Eventually, with consistent effort, you'll state that belief, and the subconscious will offer no resistance. You'll get a clear yes sway or just feel congruent. The new belief has taken root. And this, according to the sources, is the turning point.
Because the subconscious mechanism now starts working for the new program.
Instantly,
Yeah.
automatically, it begins seeking ways to validate this new belief, this new program, in your external reality.
So going back to that newspaper example,
Yeah.
now your filter is different.
Exactly. Your perception literally changes because the underlying default program has shifted. You'll start noticing things, seeing opportunities, focusing on information, maybe even attracting people or circumstances that align with your new program, the one reflecting health, abundance, love, whatever you installed. It starts to manifest seemingly without effort because the automatic mechanism is now tuned to it. So the sources really conclude by emphasizing that there is a science, a methodology to living life more intentionally. And it absolutely starts with understanding and working with your own mind.
Yeah, it's about shifting from being run by those old, often limiting programs to consciously choosing and operating from new, supportive ones. That's when you really activate that internal mechanism to attract and manifest what you desire.
It's a powerful shift in perspective, isn't it? Moving from feeling like a victim of circumstances, oh, this always happens to me, to realizing, wait, I am the master here. I have the capacity to direct my life by managing my internal programming.
And there's that incredible potential mentioned, not just for your own life, but maybe breaking cycles, clearing out old unhelpful programs so you don't unconsciously pass them down.
Exactly. The material makes a compelling case that your reality truly can be shaped intentionally using the power of your mind once you understand how to change the program it's running on.
Wow. Okay, that was definitely a deep dive into some potentially life-changing ideas from this material. We went from understanding that automatic sort of psycho-cybernetic nature of the subconscious and how those initial programs get laid down.
All the way through to practical ways to identify the ones holding you back, using things like self-observation and even that physical sway test.
And then exploring those two key methods for installing new code.
Yeah.
tapping into the receptive theta state and the power of deliberate conscious repetition and acting as if.
Yeah, it really brings it back to that core idea. The power to consciously direct your subconscious and therefore shape your reality isn't something external you need to find. It's this incredible system already operating within you. You just need to learn how to steer it.
Definitely. And maybe a final thought to leave everyone with, drawing on that idea near the end of the source material, consider the ripple effect. How taking conscious control of your own internal programming doesn't just rewrite your story, but could potentially impact generations to come by breaking patterns, by not passing on limiting beliefs you might have inherited. What could that kind of legacy mean for you starting today?